Another Founder Wisdom podcast, guys, with Max Azarov, aka Maxim. He is co-founder and CEO at Novakid, has a very colorful and interesting life experience so far. Looking at his LinkedIn here, he's in Turkey right now. He travels quite extensively as well, but has a family. Congrats on that, Max. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us a bit more about what you're up to nowadays.
Hi, Charles. Glad to be. Thanks for inviting me over. I'm glad to be on your podcast, or I guess video cast, how you call it. Yeah, I think you basically covered most of the basics. I can only also add that I started my professional career as an engineer. So I really still love coding, and it's an awesome experience when you get in the flow, and everything just stops existing, and it's just you and the code and just kind of getting it to work, debugging it, especially lots of fun, getting all the bugs out. And then kind of gradually progress towards product, and kind of finally, I guess, evolved into a CEO position. Yeah, and I love off-road motorcycling, enduro motorcycles. That's kind of my thing. When I'm not at my work and not with my family, that's what I'm doing. Going up in the mountains, with my bike. And just to make it even more interesting, I do it on an electric bike. So usually it's gas bikes, but I do it on an electric bike. So definitely kind of a little bit of a contrarian streak in me, I suppose.
Colorful, yeah. And I love interviewing colorful folks like you are. So you spent most of your career in the US. You also spent some time in Russia as well. Tell us about your background and how you got to Novakid.
Sure. Well, already started the background in terms of, kind of being an engineer and all. Definitely, I started my professional career in US and worked in some really interesting companies, including one of the first in the world digital audio streaming device. So basically, that was way before you could just basically stream audio from any device you wanted. And we created this little box with Netgear. I'm not sure, there's probably still around Netgear, right? So we created with Netgear, like little box, you connect it to the internet and it kind of streams music. This was, magical experience back then. I'm sure it's a little underwhelming now, but, back then it was wow. So yeah, definitely had lots of fun in the US, and I found the, culture amazing. So many different people coming in, and, different coasts have different cultures as well. So yeah, definitely lots of fun, amazing nature. That's something I remember. And then kind of adventure cold. So I spent some time working in Russia. Started off working for Google in Russia, helping out to improve the quality of search in Russian language, as well as did some work on Google Maps. And then kind of worked a little bit for LG Electronics, where we helped to launch their cloud storage for LG devices, for LG smartphones and smart TVs. And eventually kind of went on the entrepreneurial path. That's where I decided that I got to try it. So I found my first business with my partner, and that went pretty well, actually. So the company is still around. It did not grow as much as we hoped it would, but we did manage to buy out all the investors who essentially invested in the company and gave them a really nice return, which I consider already a big achievement on its own. And Novakid is essentially my second company that I've started. Started it out of my own need because, I think English is important as communication language, lingua franca. Basically, everybody kind of speaks it more or less, and I wanted my kids to speak it too fluently. And it's really difficult to achieve that unless you live in an English-speaking country. And that's where Novakid was born from, is basically giving kids who live outside of the US or UK or any other English-speaking country the opportunity to basically make connections internationally and just practice their English with either teachers from other countries, different cultures, or even with other kids as well.
Right. And what you built there is quite impressive. Novakid in itself, I mean, you guys have raised a whole bunch of capital, and
Mhm.
that is like super impressive in itself. Like, what is your plan this year after raising a Series B of 41 million? Like, what are you gonna do with this capital, and where do you want to take Novakid this year in 2023?
Yeah, definitely. It's we're in a fortunate position to have a good amount of cash and capital and able to invest in the future. And one of the main things that we're focusing on is really enabling group experiences where a bunch of kids would actually get together, moderated by a qualified teacher, and really just kind of, you know, speak English to each other, more or less, and practice it, improve it, solve problems together. So essentially do it in a, I guess, the closest to the natural way possible. And hopefully with the goal of like making really meaningful connections with kids from other countries, and ideally even making friends. So that's the product. Because up until now, our product has mostly been focused on individual experiences where basically student and the teacher are engaged one-on-one. So obviously the kid is still making a international friend, which is a teacher, but we feel that the connecting with other kids is going to be just a whole lot, just a new level for the product. It's also very challenging because you can imagine a bunch of kids getting in the same space, none of which really speaks English well. How do you make them talk, right? How do you make them interact with each other? How do you make them have fun? And this is where our experience with using games for learning really comes in handy. We think that this is the key to unlocking the engagement and giving kids confidence just to kind of start speaking to each other, however imperfect it is.
Love it, man. So you're marketing to parents, which could be an interesting topic in itself, but how many
Mhm.
users do you have on Novakid, paid users?
So today we have about 70,000 students on the platform, give
Holy
or take.
shit. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
I just swear so like children won't be able to listen to that one, maybe their parents. But that's really impressive.
mhm.
I mean, at $100 a month, 70K users, like we're talking about 70 million.
Yeah, give or take.
So it's like, do you have co-founders in that biz, Max, or?
Yeah. So I have one co-founder, Dmitry, and yeah, we started Novakid together. And actually, we started my previous company together as well. So we're serial co-founders. You can call it that.
Because we'd be talking about, like an ARR of like literally 800 million per year, almost a billion or more dollar valuation. Do you like, I mean, that's quite impressive. Granted that you and your co-founders still have significant shares, like is that, do you think of that as life changing? Do you think of an exit nowadays, or do you have like your financial stuff together since quite a while and an exit wouldn't have much impact on you?
Well, first of all, you are off by order of magnitude. So unfortunately, it's not 800 million. It's just closer to 80 million. So in
Oops.
terms of ARR, yeah, it's okay. It happens. um,
I got too
but
excited here.
yeah. So yeah, we're definitely not at the point where I'm planning my yacht purchase. Not quite there yet. I
Almost
think
though.
yeah, definitely. So yeah, we're definitely thinking to for exit is definitely something we're thinking about because this is our obligation to our investors to basically give them a return on capital. Right now, it's definitely not the right timing for exit because for obvious reasons, the public markets are in the crunch. The private valuations are even hit even harder. especially for later stage companies. But basically, our strategy now is to use this time to really build up more value into the company, so that when the markets turn around and the capital becomes available again, we can come back basically swinging big time. So definitely, unicorn is definitely in the cards for us.
Right. Yeah.
And
So
we're actually quite close. Based on our last round valuation, we're definitely very good, right on the path there.
yeah, on the path, and my estimation could make sense in a couple years down the road. But let's say that
Yes.
Duolingo would come knocking at your door, they could probably offer you at least 500 million.
Maybe. I don't know. Did
And
you talk to them?
how would that be life changing? You know, like I think a lot of young founders, they have their eyes on the prize. Obviously, you're doing something that you love as well, that you're passionate about. So it's kind of a magic ikigai right there that most founders don't have. So first, do you feel grateful to be working into this? And second, how do you think a potential exit could change your life and your family's?
Well, I think first of all, whether, at some point it doesn't really matter, right? Whether you, in terms of exit, like personally, whether you receive, 20 million or 200 million, right? On a personal level, you would still be okay and independent. So to me, I guess that's probably important. But I wouldn't say I'm, this is my primary goal right now. I wouldn't say this is my primary motivation. I really got into this originally because I just really wanted to build a lasting company. I wanted to build a business and the product that people would want to buy. For me, that was the challenge, and I am driven by a challenge. So one thing about exiting, so to speak, is like, okay, what do you do next? Because when you exit, it's like,
You build electric bikes.
yeah, it's your identity. Like, okay, what do you do next? So that's, I'm still not ready, I would say, to turn this page.
You're
Maybe, yeah,
having
maybe
fun.
build electric bikes, maybe something else. I don't know, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. But right now, I still have, at least I would say a couple more moves on Novakid that I would like to make in terms of the product innovation and such, to really make sure we get the most value for our investors, but for our customers as well.
Seems you've played all your cards right in life so far, and it's always very chaotic the way to get there. But how did you get to Novakid? Because it seems you have an amazing product, the pricing is right, you've got funded. Maybe explain how you got there, and also maybe explain the role of your co-founder, who does what.
Sure. I think, it's always hard to say how you get there, because there's probably there was probably a million ways to get there, right? And in some cases we got lucky, I guess. In some cases we were at the right time. But also, we made our own luck in many ways. We really, set our mind to it, and once you set your mind to it, then basically you're in position to capture the luck, to capture the opportunity that comes your way. And I think that's important. This was probably the main kind of thing that got us there. With our first business, it was tough. Our first business, basically it's enterprise sales to mobile operators, like huge telecoms. The sales cycles are crazy. Sometimes you sell after 7 years of pre-sales. We had one case, when a customer, we've been talking to them for 7 years to make a sale finally. And this was grueling, and definitely kind of having the discipline to persist through these kind of dry spells. That's important, because they will happen, and not everything will go according to the plan. So definitely some persistence, some luck, some intelligence, and also usually often they ask like, okay, what would you say to the young founders to be, or who want to be founders? And I would say the number one thing is don't do it alone. because that's, I think this is way more than a ordinary person can take on his or her own. There are, of course, people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos who just do it by themselves, or at least that's what that's what we see from the outside. But I think for most of us, most likely you do need a co-founder, but also I think you would also need a mentor. So somebody who's done that, somebody who's been there, and somebody who can give you kind of an outside view on what you're doing. Because sometimes, very obvious mistakes are made just because you're just way too deep into your business, and you're just, there's no time to kind of look, lift your head and look around a little bit. You're just focused on execution. And you do need someone to kind of show you the forest behind the trees.
What's your partner in charge of doing? Because you're in charge of product. I can also see in you like a hybrid coder and product person. So like you love being kind of by yourself with the code. Your love for the code is definitely there. Plus you've got product, and that's like a massive 1-2 combo punch. I guess your co-founder is more the non-technical side of things. He's mostly in charge of raising funds, managing the team, and so forth. Is that correct?
Yeah, so basically, Dmitry is more on the operational side of things and technical day-to-day operations. That is his thing. He likes multitasking. He loves having tens of balls in the air and kind of juggling them. That's what makes him tick. And I hate doing it. This is just not what I love. I love going deep into problems. I love having just maybe 2 or 3 priorities that I'm thinking about and executing on. And it just basically, this is how we do it. So I try to kind of identify I try to prioritize our work, and he basically helps to essentially just kind of get the thing running, make sure that the bottom doesn't fall out.
So you're the boring type.
I guess it depends on how you look at it, right? For some people, boredom. For others is like exciting.
Right.
For some people, putting together a puzzle is like super boring. For others, it's like, wow, I can't get enough of it.
Were you always that way? And do you think most people are that way, or most people are like juggling 10 balls at the same time?
I was always this way, and never was strong at multitasking. And sometimes I feel, guilty about it. It's like, why can't I do it? I mean, I'm probably lazy. I'm probably stupid. But, eventually I just learned there are people who just, are not wired for that. But, I'm much better at, connecting the dots, so to speak, and understanding when I'm getting too deep into the rut, and kind of understand, okay, it's time to stop, look around, get more context to make a better prioritization.
Right. I think it's a minority of folks that are in that area. Would you also qualify yourself or include yourself in the introverted category?
I'm probably balanced. I'm definitely not extroverted. So I would say meeting new people, getting in situations where, I'm an outsider and I don't know anybody, for me, it's a stress. To be honest, I don't enjoy that. But I'm not like super introvert. So probably in the middle, maybe slightly into introverted
Right. I'm that way too, like long story short, I had the puppies. My dog had puppies, and we were giving them yesterday, like in the center of the city here. And we met this guy that's maybe he's gonna become a friend. We had a convo with him, and then I became like uncomfortable. I'm like, I'm pretty comfortable with my life by myself, with my wife, and playing basket alone, meditating alone, doing my sports alone. And it brought this small discomfort. And then it was like, yeah, I'm somewhat on the introverted spectrum still since my World of Warcraft days. One question for you, because I'm building an ecosystem of startups. I am yet to test the VC model, so it's like mostly bootstrap right now. and using all my agencies as an ecosystem to fund my moonshots like longevity, AGI, and BCI, and so forth. How can I get co-founders like you and or recruit folks like you that are heads down, focus more in the code while I do the 10 balls juggling thing?
I you just get lucky and you just meet people
I
and
don't
then
like
you try
luck.
to.
I need skill.
Well, I mean, in order to get lucky, you need to have, because I think it does come down to luck at some point. Because you can just sort of put the resume out there. It's like usually that's not how co-founders are found, right? So it's all about just the network, I think, meeting people, noticing people, and if you just kind of see something in someone, just at least kind of keep in touch, I
Yeah.
guess.
Or this
Because with
podcast,
my
right?
kind of the interesting thing about my story with Dmitry is like, one of the first interactions with me and him was that we worked at the same company, and my first task was to fire him. So
No way.
that's how our relationship started, right?
Holy shit.
Um, yeah. So but it turned out that I make a great team. So
But did you fire
sometimes,
him?
oh yeah. I mean, I had to. I mean, basically, my boss told me, okay, I've already had enough of this guy. It's made a decision. We need to let him go. You go do it. So
My
I did.
God, is this unconventional? But maybe because he wasn't made to work, maybe he was like this pure entrepreneur, pure Mustang breed, that needed freedom
Oh
and
yeah,
did it,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely,
And
totally,
it
totally.
took some
And
skills to recognize that in you and to be like, okay, yeah, this guy is and maybe you shown great empathy in the way you let him go. Maybe he took note of that, and maybe that's how it
oh
started.
no, he was totally cool with that. I mean, he was basically ready to leave anyway. So
He was
yeah,
like, thanks,
that
bro.
was definitely not a traumatic experience for sure. But I mean, it's just funny that sometimes your co-founders can come from completely unexpected places.
So Max, you gave me so many headlines today. So maybe the 40 million one, or the 500 million exit, but I think I'm gonna use the he fired his co-founder headline for this podcast.
Okay. That
Dude, that
sounds like a
was
plan.
fun. And by the way, like, yeah, the last thing on the topic of recruiting co-founders, me, I love to shoot for something that I'm ambitious, and let's say that Max would exit his startups, and let's say that Dimitri is like taking his retirement. I'll be there, Max. I want co-founders like you. So if we can start
Okay,
something
I'll
after
keep
you're
in
done
mind.
with Novakid. But yeah, you're definitely way higher my pedigree right now. That I can tell you. You're very impressive, man. Like, it's a very unconventional story that you have, and maybe sometimes you don't realize it. A lot of people, they come on this podcast, and I like reminding them that what you achieve is quite important, and it's impressive. So congrats on everything. Where can people find out more about you, Max, and Novakid?
Um, Novakidschool.com. Yeah,
And on
that's
LinkedIn, I guess.
LinkedIn, novakidschool.com, and just Google. There's about, I think, on Entrepreneur. There I have a blog on
Right.
entrepreneur.com, so that also is a good place.
Right, you're that important. Yeah, and Max Azarov on
Sort of.
LinkedIn as well, aka Maxim. So yeah, thank you so much.